Hello class, this is Mr. Steigerwald, and we're going to be taking notes on lesson 7.1. In this section, we're going to be looking at ratios and proportions. Our objectives are to write and simplify ratios and to write and solve proportions. Our first definition is ratio. It's a comparison of two numbers by division. Now, we can write a ratio in a couple different ways. We could have it as a comparison of two numbers by division, the good old, let's use variables a and b here. We can have a over b. That is what we'll see most throughout this section. You'll also see a ratio written as this, a to b, a colon b, a to b, or just written out a to b. Please write this down. Beep. The second definition is proportion. It's an equation stating that two ratios are equal. And one of the proportions that we can write here, and again, let's go ahead and use variables, will be the ratio of a over b equals another ratio, c over d. This here is a proportion. Again, it's two ratios that are equal to each other. Go ahead and write that down. B. The next definition we're going to be looking at is cross products. In the statement a over b equals c over d, the product of the means BC and the product of the extremes AD are called the cross products. Now, I am not going to require you to remember which ones are your means and the extremes, but this is what's happening. If you have the proportion A over B equals C over D, with your cross products, what you're doing is you're taking your A and multiplying it to the D. You're going to take your B and multiply it to your C. So this will end up being A times D equals B times C. Some of you guys will have heard this in the middle school called the bow tie method or the butterfly method. Again, what you're doing is just multiplying your A to your D and set it equal to B times your C. Beep. All right, let's do an example regarding ratios. Now, I want to look at an example where we're going to use an extended ratio. And the extended ratio, as you'll see over to the right-hand part of this example 1, this 4 to 7 to 5, that's an extended ratio. Okay, instead of having two numbers, we're using three numbers. Now with example 1, it states this. The ratio of the side lengths of a triangle is 4 to 7 to 5, and its perimeter is 96 centimeters. What is the length of the shortest side? So go ahead and draw your triangle, and you'll see that our ratio again is 4 to 7 to 5. So I'm going to put a 4 on the shortest side and a 5 on the middle side and a 7 on the longest side. Now I know that with the definition of perimeter, we're going to add up all the side lengths, and that has to equal 96. Now if I do that with the 4, 5, and 7 around this triangle, 4 plus 5 plus 7, that needs to equal 96, the perimeter. And it surely doesn't. 4 plus 5 plus 7 equals 16. Okay, well what happens if we multiply everything by 2? If we doubled everything, so we went and multiplied the bottom side by 2 and the left-hand side by 2 and the long side by 2. And if we add that up together, so this will be 4 times 2 plus 5 times 2 plus 7 times 2 hopefully that'll equal 96. But as we do this, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10, and when we add to this, 7 times 2, it's 14. We add this up, and we end up with 32. That does not equal to 96. Okay? That does not equal 96. So we can't use, let's go back to the 4, 5, and 7. We can't use this because it doesn't equal 96. We can't multiply everything by 2 because it won't equal to 96. But this is what I want you guys to do. Instead of trying to multiply everything by 2, then everything by 3, then everything by 4, and everything by 5, and then hopefully get 96, let's go ahead and multiply the 4, 5, and 7 by x and solve for our x. So let me cross this out right here. Let me erase the times 2, and let's make the left-hand side 5x, this 4x, and this 7x. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to get rid of this box right here. We're going to set up the equation 4x plus 7x plus 5x equals 96. Then solve for our x, and then substitute whatever that x is to the shortest side, which will be 4x, and we'll be able to figure out the length of that shortest side. Go ahead and write this down. Solve for your x. Substitute it into your variable x on the bottom side here, and you'll find the shortest side. Go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and hit pause. Beep. With this extended ratio concept, we can do the same thing with finding the ratio of the angle measures in a triangle being 1 to 6 to 13. So we could do it with the angle measures. So what is the measure of each angle? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw our triangle, and at the angle measures I'm going to put a 1, 6, and 13. This is our ratio, 1 to 6 to 13. Then I'm going to go ahead and put an X after these numbers. Now I do notice that where my 13 and 6 is, I do understand that above it, that is a bigger angle than where I put my 13x. But remember, it does not matter where you put your numbers. We're just using our triangle to help us get an idea of how to set up our equation. Now we know that there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so for our equation, we're going to have 1x plus 6x plus 13x equals 180 degrees. You're going to go ahead and add up the 1x plus 6x plus 13x and solve for your x. And you're going to substitute it in to figure out what the measures of each angle should be. Go ahead and do that right now. Solve for your x and substitute. Beep. The next part of the notes is cross products property. So in the proportion, if A over B equals C over D, and B and D are both not equal to 0, then we're going to have AD equals BC. Remember, this is the cross product. So we want to multiply your A times your D and instead of equal to B times your C. So in our example 2, to figure out what our x is, what we're going to do is multiply the 3 times the 56 and set it equal to the 8 times the x. So it'll look like this. 3 times 56 equals 8 times x. This right here becomes an Algebra 1 problem. Go ahead and solve for your x right now. And if you need to pause the video, go ahead and do so. When you're done with that, with letter B, do the cross product on this as well. You're going to have your 7 times your 72 and your x times 56. Again, it'll look like this. 7 times 72 equals x times 56. Go ahead and multiply and solve for your x. Beep. All right, guys, now on to example C and D. Now, for C and D, I would like you guys to cross multiply and just do the first step on this. I do not want you to solve for your y. I do not want you to solve for your z. Just do the cross product method, and I want to see what you get in class. With a part underneath it regarding the properties of proportions, and example number 3, I'm going to do that in class. All right? So right now you are done. I'll see you in class. Bye.